All right, so thank you for the budget for next year, from the court. I just want to spend a couple minutes to bring up a situation on the experience stipend that maybe you hadn't considered. If you have considered it, stop me. But if you hadn't considered it, I think it may apply to just one employee of mine. She has 22 years of experience. She'll get credit for 3 because they're interrupted years. So she had 19 years. And then when I came over, got elected, I brought an employee with me, didn't retain her. So it wasn't her choice, but she has 22 years doing the same job in the same place at the same time. And if you hadn't considered that or thought about that situation, I want to bring it to your attention to that. Please consider it. The impact would be an increase from the current budget amount, which I have, which is $86.95. It would raise it to $12,740.97 if you were to credit her for that. So that would be the impact on my budget. I suspect that if you did this, it wouldn't reopen the whole thing. It would apply to one person. I could be wrong about that, but that's what it looks like to me. I just want to bring it to your attention in case you hadn't considered that particular situation.
How long has she been on, Judge?
I don't know, 10 years maybe, I'm not sure. When the council gave me another position, I hired her. And that's why she's back working for me. I don't know the exact time.
This may be one time I disagree with you, but I just don't, this opens up a great big monstrous can of worms for us. It really does. I mean, it does. Because the way this stipend is set up was years of service in the department you're in, and it opens up Teresa, it opens up much more. I hope you don't not upset with me. I mean, I'm not.
No, it's your decision. I respect that, but I wanted to come in and bring
this is my opinion. Now there's 6 more of us here. My opinion.
Okay, well, I appreciate you considering it. That's all I had this morning.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on in the public hearing. I got a few notes from Ruben that I think was sent. Christy, you kind of up there. He did say our budget, the way it is right now, we can sustain it. It is sustainable. The only comment he had was Parks Department, you're sustainable, but come 25, you'll have to come back to a little bit of reality after your construction and stuff's done. You know what I'm talking about? Because I think Christy said, what'd you say? With her budget, she'll end up with about 185,000 left over. And I know you'll have the pool money and stuff left.
But that's if it's all 100% spent.
Yeah, if it's 100% spent. So
okay.
That was a comment he had on that. Tourism was sustainable, but when his money's gone, his money's gone. There was something else on there, wasn't it, Christy? Can't remember what it was.
Park tourism, there's 2. Park tourism, county general, he just said is over.
He said it's
but
over.
It's sustainable.
It's sustainable, the way it says.
And again, we don't ever spend 100%. So.
No. I think that was about the only 3 comments he had in there that he said we could go on with. So we might as well get on to the big thing in the room. Salaries. I made a comment, I'll make it again. I am not for the elected officials getting a stipend. I'm not sure what it does. If somebody is, their year is up, what happens in 25? Does that person take off from the stipend in, or they go back to the base? I'm not sure how the law is written. And I think we need to, and if I've done the math right, in 22, the elected officials got between $3,101 as high as 4,000 in between that was their raises for this year. Does that make sense? Okay. The rest of it, I want comments. The last 2 weeks, me and Christie have went over this, over it and over it and over it. This is the 6th time I've got one of these. I'm about to make a comment, if the stipend goes away and everybody gets a 3% raise, we wait on the salary study. That's a comment I'm making right now. Anybody else wants to agree, disagree, that's fine. Because it's just turned into, to me, a fiasco here lately. I understand the concept, and the concept is good, but it's just, we got people wanting to go back, we got people wanting to go forward. We want back and forth.
Are you saying about the elected official would not get the longevity, even though I've been in the same office for 15 years?
Well, your raise was pretty good when you got elected. That's what I'm going by. You understand where I'm at there? When you got elected, you got.
Considered longevity.
Yeah, I think that was considered as an elected official, like not, that doesn't reward a person for being in that same office for so long that they're not gonna want to run for an office.
I understand that. I really do, but it's, that's the way, I asked for just to be written out, but where it's sent out to everybody so everybody can understand what's going on. I never did get a memo on it or anything. Everything I've goten's been verbal. So, but anybody else got any comments? Come on, that's where I'm at.
I understand where you guys are coming from, but you know, just like Janet mentioned too, it's like the years of service are just like out the window. And then I keep comparing my figures with 17 other counties, and there are a lot of them that use the salary committee or the salary study firm that WIS, and they said that it ends up being where, not saying that office holders are more valuable than your deputies, but it ends up being where the deputies catch up, and it makes you wonder who's going to want to run for a county official job or go back into the other one, or vice versa, if there's no incentive there. See what I'm getting at? But WIS said that, or the counties I spoke to, they said it was a joke, and the disparity between deputies and their person that is overseeing that office as manager. And I get involved in my office. I just don't sit there and be manager. All my girls, everybody, and I know Mark was the one that came in when they did the internal study. I don't know if everyone was asked whether we're cross-trained. All my 3, there may be ones where we're more, you know, in tune with whatever, but all of us can sit there and balance books and cross-reference each other. I leave my office open 8 to 4. I don't shut down. I don't ask for part-time either, because I use that time effectively and not close office and then say I can't get my stuff done. We stay open. But I do agree that there's disparity, and I think it's across the board, but yet you said it right, Danny. You give to one like Matt, make comment. I'm sure that everyone here feels the same way. It's across the board, but yet, like you mentioned, it's going to open up a lot more than just one office. It's going to affect everyone. But yet the office holders can take 3%, but if you care enough about your staff, you don't want them to miss out on that amount as well.
Well, I'd like to see the salary study. Commissioners spend a lot of money on this company.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just,
But
it's just,
comment on that.
And when I worked for a company, the company I worked for, they didn't do this, and I understand what, but I think that, like Christie, she's valuable. And I do believe she needs, you know, but until the study comes back and we find out where we need to go, that's my opinion. I don't have a vote. I am a tiebreaker, so we go from there.
I mean, I do appreciate the work on it. I've got 5 current deputies that are looking or already have side jobs to supplement their income because they are struggling. I am afraid they're gonna leave. I mean, I do feel like longevity is important, but I've wanted longevity forever, and it just would stink to get it, and then I wouldn't get it as well after being there that long.
I just have a question on the longevity. Is it going to then be the base pay, or isn't this just a stipend?
According to that, it's a stipend, but it is a base pay.
But, so in other words,
Am I talking right?
their pay would always be in like, whatever that stipend is, gonna be added to their base pay from now on.
Yes, that
Yes,
would be
that would
current
be their base pay.
employees' new base pay.
Okay,
But we
because,
will be keeping new employees at whatever the entry level pay is. That's what we were trying to address here,
and
is
some, yeah. some
having new
offices.
employees making the same amount as people that have been here for a long time.
Right, I can understand that. And I understand where they're coming from. Like Denise worked over in the assessor's office, and she brought her experience and her knowledge to the recorder's office, because we have people come in. Andy Sholey taught me how to read the legal descriptions. I taught Abby. Abby took that to the auditor's office. So the time she spent in my office ought to be some kind of credit. So
This is
you're
why,
right, it's kind of a mess.
that's a comment I made. This is why I said, just wait on the
Right.
salary study. And as far as the salary study, to me, is a goal. It's not something that's gonna be attained as soon as they give it to us.
Right.
It's something we have to work our way up to. That's my opinion.
So
Am I
my other
talking right?
question,
Well, I'm going to say, like I said last month, I'm not in favor of the stipend. I agree with Danny. I think a 3% raise or whatever we decide is fine. I would like to see us go to something like the sheriff's department does, with maybe a first deputy, second deputy, third deputy, pay according to what your experience is and your value to your office, rather than just have an automatic stipend. How many years been there? Some people have been there 10 years and they ain't learned anything. Some of them been there 10 months and know everything. So I think that gives you a little flexibility in the people you hire in your office and how you pay them. And I don't know what this salary study is going to come up with, but I think something on this one would make much more sense. We're not going to have a base pay that for some of them is way up here, some of them not so much up here. I think it gives us better control of how we set up our pay scales. And I just think it works better for everybody.
I have another question. I'm sorry. So this percentage wise on the salary that you guys are saying, 2%. For starters, this whole thing with the $4,000 difference in pay, I understand where you are coming from, that different offices doesn't mean everybody should have the same pay. I understand that. Just like Danny's the president and Mark Kors is the president of commissioners, maybe they should get paid more because they have more duties. The deal is, we work hand in hand with the auditor, especially on these deeds, to make sure that all the legal descriptions are right. So now, with a 2% difference, we are now talking additional $80 difference. Instead of the 4,000, it's going to be 4,080 difference from my office than some of the other offices, like the assessors and the auditors. What I would like you to do is explain to my two employees why that you're wanting to make the spread even bigger. Why are you wanting to go, instead of 4,000, now it's 4,080. Next year, if you do the percentage, it'll even be bigger. The
I
difference.
understand that. And that's why in the past we've done dollar amounts to stay away from that. He's talking 3%. I think that's just a guideline. It's what amount we would give. I agree with on the percentage thing. It just gets you further apart.
Yeah. But with the budget, you're planning on that with the budget, correct? You know, by the figures of the budget, it says that they would be making $4,080 more for 2024. So are we sticking with that,
I
or?
don't know.
I don't know,
Okay.
That's a decision we're made.
All right.
I made the comment, the stipend goes away, everybody gets a 3% raise across the board, and we wait on the salary committee study.
I guess I'd rather see a dollar amount than for percentage.
I think the dollar amount.
We don't
It don't matter, I'm just.
A dollar amount would
I mean,
make
I-
more
But
sense.
not every
I-
employee deserves the same raise though, so
I-
that's tough,
I agree.
nor the same percentage.
I went over this thing, I don't know how many evenings. Came up and got things printed out and went over it and over it and over it.
I got
Found some mistakes on it. We got them corrected and we went on. I know Christie's not up to her years, but I mean, I know she is. She's hard of seeing me. Go right again.
Have you thought about using the chart that we use for our PTO, like years of service, you would get this percentage, 6 to 12 years, you get this percentage, and above that, you would get a different percentage instead of, I mean, I have 22 years and I know you cut it off at 20, which I understand that, but if you tier it, maybe according to the PTO, that's how we determine how many days we get off. What if that had a different percentage based on that?
I think
Use
that's
that,
something
use
could
that
be taken
same
under
chart,
Consideration.
Could be looked at.
you know?
I'm thinking, but right now, I'm trying to use the simplest method I
I
can to
understand.
get through this.
I understand, but
That study's supposed to be
in
back.
22 years, it's every year it's something, and no one's gonna be happy
I
with
We're
it.
gonna have the study, and I
everything.
understand it's a third party, but are we going to listen to them? And the salary committee spent 2 years on these recommendations, like hours and hours and hours. We're never gonna get 100% of people being happy, but
No,
we're
I know.
trying to correct an issue. So at what point are we going to listen to recommendations?
I kind of agree with that too. I mean, I've been here a long time. Every year we come in here, somebody's not happy with how we're doing the salaries. Either mad because everybody's getting paid the same, or you're mad because we gave this office this and your office didn't get that. I mean, you gotta look at our side of this table. I mean, we're trying to do the best we can do for all of our people. So understand that when we do it, and we have X amount of dollars to spend, don't forget that. We gotta fund the counties. So if we're trying to take what money that we have and try to take care of our people the best that we know how to do it. So, you know, show a little grace now and help us understand, you know, if we don't get something done this year because we're waiting on that study, then we're waiting on the study. Just, everybody's got to show some patience here and see what it says. And like, you know, not everybody's going to be happy. Not everybody in this room is going to say this is a great deal because everybody's got a different opinion. But you got to understand that we are trying to do the best that we can do for you guys and your people. Okay?
And we want to keep our people.
We understand that. We want you to keep them too. It affects everybody in this courthouse when somebody leaves, but you got to understand that we only have X amount of dollars to spend.
Right.
If we can't pay that person the money that they can go find a job somewhere else, then they're just gonna have to go find a job somewhere else. We'll do all we can do to not make that happen. But we can't just go out here and just open the checkbook up and write a big dollar amount just because that person's gonna go to the job.
We're just asking for it to be a little more even.
Well, and so you want it to be more even, and you come back in here and say, okay, now why are they getting the same amount as us? We do more work than they do, so we catch it from both sides. Okay? That's
Yeah,
what
but
I'm
that
saying.
spread, now you keep adding more. It's a bigger spread now.
I understand that.
I mean, obviously, we can care about the salaries, or we wouldn't have put so much time and effort into the salaries, into the salary committee, into the salary study. Part of the reason that longevity was considered for just the current office that you're in is because almost every meeting we hear complaints about people jumping from office to office. So this incentivizes those people from jumping from office to office if you're going to carry your longevity. So that was part of the discussion on why that was the decision.
Okay, I got a question. Well, just comment. Like Ashley said, which I agree, entry level, but are we going back to the 4%, 2% of the entry level? Because it was not done when 2 people were hired earlier in the year and there was only a week apart and one made top pay and then the other one made 4%, like it was mentioned in the policy book. And I brought that up before. So that was one thing. And then when you bring up the questionnaire with the salary, the WIS, if you don't put specialized training on there, which years of experience, I mean, I think they're looking at degrees and not all the time. People got to realize that it's years of service too. I have one with a degree down there, the 14 years in working in state government. And the other one had 20, no degree, but yet it's a piece of paper. She has 18 years as assessor and then 2 years as treasurer. So, and from talking to the other 17 counties, they said, if you didn't, that questionnaire, if you put it certain ways, they're gonna look at that you're just clerical, and it's beyond clerical in a lot of these offices. I agree with Dottie that it's just not one office. It's the auditor and the recorder and area plan, assessor and the treasurer. We all have to work together for the common good. It's just not your job. You're affecting somebody else's job as well. I wanted to make a comment with the salary committee, like they gave, which a lot of offices can't, which I was told by another commissioner, well, if you get rid of an employee, you can get the 4,000. I knew we were walking in a mess. I just knew it. And thank God I did not get rid of a deputy, but in order to get rid of a deputy, just so they can get the difference in the salary, and yet it helps the county or you guys because you're not paying out another person with insurance. I get it. It's a win-win. But the 4,000 wasn't because it was earned. It was because someone didn't take that place so you could divvy out the money. That's where the difference comes at, but it wasn't because they're doing more work than another. Another thing with the salary thing, which was back in 21, when we hired an HR person, it was noted in there that some of the duties would be moved on to the HR person and not stay in one office. So when you did the committee and you had to rid 3 positions, which Mark had stated, 2, you know, it was the clerk, the assessor, and the auditor, but yet in the comment though, it said that, of course, there would be oversight because Patty just hopped on board, so there was a lot of newness going on there, but that the job description is still in work in progress, but it does include moving health insurance benefits and personal records. And I'm not really sure whether that's even moved over. Well, then if it was, and the HR person took over those duties, then what's the need of having another deputy hired? And I'm not picking on, I'm just stating facts, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, the whole idea of hiring an HR person was to alleviate some of that workload. And that really hasn't happened, I don't believe. And then Penny made a comment about, you know, we only have X amount of dollars. And every once in a while I try to bring in what we've earned. And I know you can't, just because it's in the savings account, you can't just sit there and spend it.
It's a public hearing. We'll go, that's in open.
Okay, okay.
We're on the public hearing. We're
Okay.
discussing salaries.
All right,
Let's go to that's a topic down here.
Okay.
Once we close it,
got it.
okay? Okay. So, okay, we've got to attack this elephant in the room.
However we do it, it's gonna affect.
I mean, I
Nobody's
know
gonna be happy.
somebody's gonna be
I can see somebody leaving the clerk's office to run for auditor that was a deputy clerk and you're gonna lose all your time. I understand where they're coming from. I don't like it. I'm just saying you did away with it. It's not right. So when you know, a deputy could go run for another office, then you're gonna lose all your time. But that discouraged somebody from doing it, so
Exactly.
I don't know. I think years of service is years of service. I understand it might keep you from going to a different office, but that's my opinion. I don't like it. I don't like the way it's set up.
Well, my opinion is we keep it as it is, because in the private sector, if you switch offices, you go back to the starting base pay of what that office began at originally. You don't go by years of service.
Not if you're elected official.
Well, I'm just saying, it should, in the private sector, it does that way. I think it should just stay the same. That way people won't be jumping offices. And then you're rewarded for the years of service.
Well, if we go with this, I still don't think the elected officials should be included. I don't think they were intended to be included.
Well,
Right.
because the elected officials were looked at in the first year and took a pretty hard bump the first year. The second year was meant to be for the employees and to help their level of
Because
pay.
I'm not sure, like, and Janet, don't get mad at me, I'm using you for an example. You know, if she does get the stipend, does that mean that in 25, when she can't run, when someone's do they come in at 53 or do they come in at 51?
Well, and
I
that's
don't
the
know
other
you
thing we
can
talked
take-
about is some offices have term limits and some don't. So how can you reward somebody for being on the council for 20 years, but someone for being an auditor for 8 years, if they don't have an option, they've got to leave, they don't have an opportunity to stay.
So,
Well, I don't think any of us sitting up here are doing it for the money.
No,
I mean, the other elected officials probably, I mean, that's their income. We're-
What, do we have any written stipulations on this money, on how it's to be handled? Is there any guidelines on it at all, or did we just put it there?
No, I didn't. I kind of asked for guidelines, and never got any.
Why did you ask?
I mean, is there anything on that? Dan?
No, I've never seen a request for it, no.
so if you give this to elected officials, does that mean that if a new official gets elected, they start out at the?
That's the reason
Because
I
they're
wanted to
not
take
there
it
long.
away.
Back into that.
Until we have some kind of, guideline.
Is it gonna have the same thing
on how it's gonna work,
Yeah,
then
you don't get the
You can
longevity.
learn it, yeah.
Can I say, after talking to several of you for the past month or so on this, I don't think this was meant, I think last year was elected officials, this year's deputies, next year is the salary study.
That's,
So I don't think,
it wasn't
That's
I
like,
don't
the way
wanna
I look
say
at it,
not
too.
look beyond this year, the deputies, but I think this is to help deputies this year, like you said last year you would do. And then next year, after the salary study comes in, that's when
make all decisions. on
all the
it.
decisions are gonna be made. What it is moving
that's
forward to new
wherever
heights,
they come in is our
the
goal.
spread between the deputy and elected
It was
officials.
also-
That's when all of that.
It was also in
Type it.
anticipation that those levels were gonna be quite far apart, and this was kind of a stepping stone, so we wouldn't have to go from here to here all in 1 year.
That's
So it was trying to help build it instead of having a big hit next year.
So if we say, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're just looking at 1 year, this is it, until we see the study next year, and then make a decision on how we're gonna handle it from that point forward. Is that what I'm hearing?
But this will be their
They
best.
pay.
This will be their
Just
best.
this year.
Depending on the
So
salary.
let's go back up to, yeah,
Depending on the
salary.
salary.
It'll depend on what the salary study comes in at, and then we'll determine how we're gonna do it from that point forward.
Yeah,
I mean,
basically.
if we're gonna do it, it needs to be stipulated that this is for 1 year only. For this budget cycle only, until the salary study gets here, we decide how we're gonna handle it from that point forward. Because we don't have any guidelines on how we're gonna do it after, you know. We're sitting here talking about people coming, people going, and, you know, elected officials come in their first year, they got 1 year now, I mean, we don't know how we're gonna do it.
When you did the stipend, when the COVID, when everybody got $2,000. Isn't that what this is supposed to be? And
No.
that's why I asked, are we adding this to it? But you're thinking, why can't this be a stipend to say we appreciate your longevity, but we're going back to, you know, your base pay is your base pay.
Right.
This is a stipend.
Right.
Or forget, like Danny said, forget the longevity until the study counts. Just
I
like you
think
said,
part
we're
of that
paying a lot
is
of
the fact
money.
that, you know, if you have people in your office that's been there 2 years, and you got somebody that's been there 20, everybody's getting the same dollar amount.
I think there's a confusion of terms that needs to be addressed in the room. That is the difference between the base pay for the position and your base pay.
Thank you.
So while this would affect your base pay going forward, and it's not just a bonus, the base pay for the position would remain lower than that. Now, there is a low chance that after the salary study committee, there would be individuals whose base pay for the position would come back lower than their personal base pay. And in that case, it make that the lowest base pay for that position. I don't think that's gonna happen. I agree with Deanna. I think everybody's gonna do better after the salary study. And this is just an intermediate step to get us going that direction. But while we're having this discussion, it's hard to have the discussion if we're confusing in our terms. I think there's a difference between the base pay for the position and the employee's base pay based on their years of service.
That's what I was doing.
So I guess sitting there thinking about it, so we're looking at possibly giving everybody additional funding on their pay. Or we can say we're not gonna do anything till the salary comes. I mean, you guys, all you department heads, you don't want that. I mean, you sure you wanna get more money for your people.
Yes.
But, now we're sitting there talking about base pay and salary study, and, I mean, I don't know how we're supposed to make a decision on what we're gonna do based on everything that's coming at. So maybe I'm too simple-minded, but it doesn't make any sense to me I want to give them everything we can give them, but if we're gonna get a bunch of pushback on everything, what we're trying to do, then we don't have to do it. We can say, get your salary, and then next year when the salary study comes, we'll take a look at it and make a decision from there. I don't know where it tells us to go. We gotta be careful if we say, yeah, we're gonna do this, then everybody's pay now is this dollar amount. The next year, when we get the salary study finished and looking at it, now all of a sudden that position shouldn't be paying that dollar amount, then what are we gonna do?
That's what I'm.
Do
you freeze it?
I guess I got that question about how we handle that. And I don't know if that'll happen or not. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Like Nathan said, maybe that chance that won't happen, but.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean,
What I've seen
if
with
I'm off
other
base there,
studies.
somebody tell me, because I'm not involved in that part of it, so I don't know, but.
I
We
would
have to
be
make a
shocked
decision here.
if anyone came back as grossly overpaid for their position.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's not gonna happen. So, and on the other hand, the point is, we set this budget and gave everybody the stipends that we're talking about. And we got the budget down to where it's gonna go, Ruby says it's all good, then it's all good. So we have the money to do that this time around, but I think we just need to have a complete understanding on what's gonna happen next year when we look at budget next year and the salary study gets here. Because, you're all gonna come back in here and you're all gonna be having the same thing going on, that you're not gonna agree with what some of it's gonna happen. We all know it's gonna happen. So we just need to make sure everybody's on the same page on the understanding of what we're trying to accomplish and how we're gonna do it.
The WIF study, just because I get in contact with my 17 counties that we were compared to as office holders, and it did happen where some of them came back making lower than what they did. But there again, it was only a couple of people that responded off of that. I get it with the years of service, but yet I saw for a fact when I was a deputy that somebody that had many, many, many years of service did not deserve all those years because they were playing games all the time. So, where do you look at the quality along with the quantity?
That's a managerial issue. They were
That's
allowing that
that's
to
the
happen.
chairman's job.
That's the manager's job.
So
to
we
handle
clear.
that.
Exactly.
That
If
isn't
we
a
do
salary
this,
issue.
everybody's base salary next year will start at the increased rate. Is that correct?
So what?
Depending on what the study shows.
So we're
So
saying.
why are we doing this when we don't even have an idea what the study's gonna tell us to do?
As I mentioned before, part of this is an effort for us not to have to go from here to here after that study, because we suspect the study is going to have very, very high numbers. This helps us cushion that and have the money and be in preparation for the next step.
But what if it's not? Then you done committed.
Well, and that was a question I had, but by saying that there's not, there's no serious chance that's gonna happen, I guess I really can't see it happening either, but. I mean.
So what are they doing in this study? Is this a third-party group's coming into our county?
Right.
And they're just comparing us to other counties, or are they actually comparing us to ourselves?
Well, it's a full-blown.
They're getting job descriptions, comparing the job descriptions with the value.
Years experience, it's a whole lot goes into that. It's not just pulling up county to county and saying this is what these guys pay.
But that's what this is.
This isn't based on county to county, this is based on years of service.
Okay, we're gonna have to make a decision. Do we?
I mean, I'm okay, I'm okay doing it, and I think our people deserve it, but I just wanna make sure that we don't open ourselves up that, you know, y'all come back in here next year and you're mad because we didn't bump everybody's pay a big old chunk, and then when we don't have money to do it. I just wanna make sure everybody's, we all gotta work together, and we'll do everything we can do to try to keep this place going, but at some point in time, we gotta say we're done.
If we go with it, I still think we need minus the elected officials.
That was the intent of the suggestion.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Because when they did what I said, they all got a pretty good raise this year. They all really did. And they'll get to 2%, so, you know, and then
Would you consider a flat raise instead of the percentage?
No, that's not why we did it. We talked about that for a long time. It's better for us to keep everybody's departments based on what they're, you know, y'all come and said you wanted to be sure that you get paid for what you're worth and what you do, and that's how we had to do it, was to divide the departments up, and then the way to get it across the board was just do a percentage. That way every office gets 2%, 2%, 2%. We do a flat rate, and that means everybody gets paid the same because they're all the same. Well, then you're gonna come back and say, well.
But they're not, though. They're already getting 4,000 more. So
But that's how the salary study figured it out.
they did, there was no salary study on that, Kenny. They let a person.
There was, the committee did it. The committee did the salary study.
On the employee. On the employees.
On the elected officials, that's what we did last
Only
year.
on the elected officials. But what I'm saying is the auditor's office lost a person, that's how they got the extra 4.
Okay,
Assessor's office lost a person, they get the
Okay.
extra 4. It wasn't done by a salary study, or, you know, that's how they were able to do it. I can't lose a person for them to
Understand that.
get it.
I understand
So
that.
that's why I'm trying to say with your, now it'll be 4,080, and then, you know, who knows next year what you know.
So
what
here we are again, everybody's looking at everybody else and what they did. We gotta stop doing that.
Except for the
If
fact that
that
we all work
office lost a
together.
person, if that office lost a person and they decided they were gonna take that workload and share it with each other and divide that salary, we said, okay, but you're not gonna hire somebody else to replace that person since we divvied out the salary to everybody else. That was the stipulation when we did it. So if that office did that, and now their guys are making more money than your office because they were able to do that, then that's just how it is. I don't know how you overcome that.
But
But
if they,
Kenny, I feel like that was in the past, because
That
yes,
wasn't
that
the
was,
past. That's
no, I
been
mean,
several years ago.
that was
Exactly.
several years ago, but when the salary committee went out to all the other counties, we were still higher than what that 4,000 was. So even if we didn't take that 4,000, according to the salary committee in all the surrounding counties, we would have still been up where we're at now.
Yeah, so.
I feel like that's just.
if we're gonna move forward, we gotta do this, we beat this dead horse, so we're gonna beat it.
Okay.
It ain't gonna get up and run.
So what we gotta do?
I need a motion,
Vote on it.
we need to vote on
Hang on,
this.
Danny, Danny.
Go ahead, Ken.
I know it's been stated, but in my office, I'm done next year, after next year. But if you don't give the elected officials, then that brings the deputies up within 7,000
Of the elected.
of salary for next year. So what incentive is there to give up that difference?
I'm
I know
sorry,
they
Dan,
determined it.
what was the difference you say on that?
7,000, because next year without the stipend, combined with the 51,518, and the deputies would be the 43,859.
Sounds like a pretty good pay rate.
So,
That's,
Well, right now it's 10. But if the salary study comes back next year and you're going to increase the deputies more, it'll be less.
But they might increase the elected officials more too, we don't
They're
know.
not looking at elected officials, is my understanding. We didn't.
but that
fill out
doesn't
any
mean we can't,
questionnaires.
doesn't mean we can't make that difference, just because they're making that difference.
I just wanted to put it up there.
Not 10 for them to go.
We're not go one way or the other. I'm entertaining.
I make a
Motion.
motion, we leave it as is, leaving out the elected officials on the stipend.
Leave them on,
As,
off.
leave the elected officials off, but leave the formula for 2024 as listed with the 2% and the 0.5% stipend.
Got a motion from Ashley. Need a second. Minus the elected officials.
I'll second that.
Kenny seconds. Any more discussion? Okay, we'll do a hand vote. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-2. Okay. Anything else on the public hearing? I have one other comment. According to Ruben, we have to watch the additionals come next year because of being about 800,000 over his recommendations. So it will be down to a emergency need. It won't be a simple need. It'll have to be an emergency need on any additionals for next year because of where we're at. Okay. You for a public hearing?
Yes, sir. Previously, I asked for fringe on community corrections. Was made aware that I was asked to hold the line for another year. I know I met with you, Bill, privately after that, provided you with some projections. A number was given when we talked, said you see what you can do. I'm asking for that potentially to be reconsidered for something, just to help us for 2024. So.
He's wanting the insurance money. And I made the comment to him that as far as I'd be willing to go is 30,000. But that's up to you guys. I mean, I'm just,
Okay.
as far as I'm
No,
willing
and
to go.
that's fine. Like I
It'll
said,
help, but I'm not, the only reason I said that was because Arthur was picking up the wellness court. But he also asked for money yesterday from the commissioners for insurance from,
right,
insurance on the.
right. I'm just trying to survive, so
And
that's
they
what I'm
told us
asking.
no on that.
Yeah.
They did tell us no on that.
They did tell you no on the unrestricted.
Yeah.
And if you want to wait on him to come back,
Sure. I
I
mean,
mean, we'll wait till he gets in a bind. I have no problem with that.
and yeah, I just want it on your radar. You're aware of where we are. It's gonna be an issue.
You're gonna either lose an employee or.
I mean, hopefully not, but I just don't want to run my discretionary funds into the ground because I don't get them replenished every January. It depends on what we collect.
So that 35,000 you're talking about, Dan, is that gonna be?
30,000
annual fee?
No, well, hopefully not.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
was
I-
hoping it would be, he's hoping things would get back
Yeah,
to normal.
explain, you're short people on community corrections.
Our numbers are down. They could potentially go up. Nate could attest to that. Filings are up. It just comes down to number of participants we have on programs. And it just fluctuates. I mean, it's like anything. Jail population goes up, jail population goes down. Our numbers on community corrections go up, they go down. We're just in a little bit of a lull right now, but as filings are going to be anticipated to be up this year. And like they said, Nate can attest to that. You know, hopefully we can get to where we're getting more user fees in, but they're discretionary and they fluctuate. And that's a tough way to maintain a budget. That's just, like I said, there's some money there, but I run it down into nothing. I'm coming to you for everything to help operate a budget, copy paper, a copier. I mean, and none of that is paid right now because we pay it out of those user fees, but I run it in the ground for 24 and who knows how it's gonna look at the end next year at this time, so.
And we'll always apply for a DOC grant. We applied this year for extra funding. The state gave no new money across the board. So no counties got additional funds. So that's also, so next year we'll apply
for a DOC grant, additional as well.
And we can wait till he gets in trouble.
I mean, don't come to us after it's completely done.
Yes.
Right. I mean, we're keeping an eye on it. It's a monthly thing. I mean, I do monthly financial reports. Right,
Update on where you
right. No, and that's fine. I'm just putting it on your radar yet again is what you can say.
Anything else on the public hearing? Bill, do anything for us? Okay. Anything else? I have need a motion.
Danny,
Oh,
I'm sorry, do you have, can anyone elaborate on this logo and like, is the money coming to do this logo from, is that coming out of budget or is that a
I don't have a clue. It seems like it's top secret right now.
Okay, well, is it budgeted in?
ARPA money. I haven't seen the logos. ARPA did.
Yeah, our.
That
I
and the
just didn't know if it was in the
website,
It was
budget.
part of the web.
Part of the
whole-
website.
Website and the logo all came out of ARPA.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the public hearing and move on to regular.
So moved.
Any, Bill seconds. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Yeah, we gotta approve the minutes. My bad. Well, we went to public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from the August meeting. On entertain a motion to approve. Ashley made a motion to approve.
A second.
Bill seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Okay. You're up, sir.